Students, now we are just going to start a new topic, that is human reproduction. Till now we have just completed the plant reproduction or sexual reproduction in the flowering plant, and now we are just going to start with the new topic, that is human reproduction. That is a new chapter there in the CBSE syllabus and the NEET syllabus also. The human reproduction, I don't think this is required to provide you the introduction of the reproduction. Reproduction means basically a simple process where a parent individual is going to give rise the similar daughter individual or similar individual to them. So this is what the reproduction means. Again, production means production. So reproduction means what? The capacity of the individual to produce the similar organisms from themselves only, that is called as the reproduction. And usually the reproduction involves in the production of the similar organisms. But if the asexual reproduction, that time exactly similar copy is being produced, that is what known as clone cell. And when it is sexual reproduction, in the sexual reproduction what will happen? There will be some variation will be observed. There will be some variation observed in the daughter individual whatever is formed after the reproduction. And what is the basic difference between sexual and asexual reproduction? You know very well. In the sexual reproduction, we need to involve two parents. The two parents are involved by contributing their particular cells, or those cells are called as the sex cells or the gamete cell. While in case of the asexual reproduction, there is only one parent involved. That is why the single parent, or that is why only one parent involved. That is why there is no chances of developing the variation thereon. Exactly the similar copy of the individual has to be produced there only. So let us see what are the properties or what are the specific things about the human reproduction. Today we are just going to discuss the basic points of reproduction, and soon after we will start the major concept of the reproduction only. So here also we are just going to start with what? The most basic point, the most simple point. The humans are the unisexual in unisexual organism, you knows very well. Unisexual organism means to say the organism which is having a particular type of sex organ present only in one organism only. Means what? Both male and female sex organs are present in two different organisms. So if that situation is there, means what? One male organism will be there and one female organism will be there. So that condition is called as unisexual, and this is what called as the humans are unisexual in nature. Second thing, the very important point, that is a new concept may be there. The humans are expressing the sexual dimorphism. Humans are the organisms which are able to express the sexual dimorphism. Now the question arises, what is the meaning of that sexual dimorphism? Just try to understand those fundamental things. What is the meaning of sexual dimorphism? Sexual means what? You can understand sexually. Sexually means based on the sexes, whether they are male or female. Dimorphism, di means two, morphism word originated from the morph. So di means two, morph means form. So sexual dimorphism means to say this is the event by which the organism may be identified from their external features only. Morph means what? External feature. So this is the phenomena by which the organism can be identified from their external features only, whether they are male or female. So is it clear to you all? What is sexual dimorphism? Sexual dimorphism means the event where organisms can be identified from their external features only, whether they are male or they are female. So now moving on to the next, I am just going to discuss very basic topics today, very basic things today from the human reproduction. So now the primary sex organ, my dear students, again and again we'll discuss, again we'll use the word primary sex organ, secondary sex organ. So before moving into the chapter, we must have the idea about the primary sex organ and secondary sex organ. These basic terms we must have the remember, or we must have cleared that. So primary sex organs means what? Primary means of the first. Of the first means the most primitive. Most primitive means the most primitive in the function. Most basic in the function. So primary sex organ means the sex organs which are involved in the most basic function of the reproduction. So most basic function of the reproduction is to produce the sex cells. Are you getting my point? What is the most basic function of the reproduction is, in case of sexual reproduction, to produce the sex cells, to produce the gametes. Are you getting my point? And these primary sex organs, so primary sex organ means the sex organs which are responsible for the production of gametes are the sex cells, and further they are helpful in releasing some of the hormones which are helpful in developing those gametes. Are you getting my point? So primary sex organs are only limited up to or restricted up to the formation and maturation of the gametes, and for that whatever is requirement, whether it is hormone or whatever is there, that is being released or maintained by those organs only. So in case of animals, the gonads are considered as the primary sex organ. Remember, gonad word will be used again and again. So gonads are considered as the primary sex organ. So now it is clear. So primary sex organ means what? The sex organs which are going to produce the gametes or sex cells, along with they are responsible for maturation, formation and everything of that. So now next one, moving on to the next, these gonads, these primary sex organs, the important question is that how they are being regulated. So these gonads or sex organs are regulated by the use of some hormones like FSH and LH. These gonads are used by the hormones FSH and LH. FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and LH, the luteinizing hormone. Don't get confused whether FSH is present only in the male or only in the female. This is responsible for developing or maturation or regulation of both the gonads, whether it is male gonad or female gonad. Moving on to the next, the male gonad. Male gonad means what? The male sex organ which is responsible for production of the male gamete is considered as testis. Very important. Testis is considered as male gonad or male sex organ or male primary sex organ, because testis is responsible for the male gamete. Similarly, in case of females, the female gonad is ovary. So male gonad is testis and female gonad is ovary. Now moving on to the next, the testis, since it is male gonad, it is going to give rise the male sex cell, and female gonad, that is ovary, is going to give rise the female sex cell. So the male sex cell is called as sperm or spermatozoa, and female sex cells or gametes are called as egg or ovum. So is it clear? So testis is going to produce sperm or spermatozoa, and ovary is going to produce egg or ovum. Is it clear to you all? The testis is primary sex organ in male, that is going to produce the sperm or spermatozoa. Ovary is the primary sex organ in the female, that is going to produce egg or ovum. So the gamete, the male gamete is called as what? Sperm or spermatozoa, and the female gamete is called as what? Egg or ovum. Now moving on to the next one, as we have discussed now the primary sex organ. So here some more term is there. Primary sex organ can be accompanied with some other organ. Those organs are called as accessory structures for the reproduction and called as secondary sex organ. Are you getting my point? These primary sex organs cannot work completely without the help of some other accessory structures. So those accessory structures, these are working in the function or completion of the reproductive physiology, are called as secondary sex organ. Are you getting my point? Secondary sex organ means what? The sex organs are the structures which are assisting the function of the primary gonads or primary sex organ. That is why they are called as accessory structure. So the question arises, how these structures are going to assist the development, or how these structures are going to assist the process of reproduction, how these structures are going to assist the function or the primary gonads. So these structures are useful for the transportation, conveyance and providing the site for the fusion of male and female gametes. Are you getting my point? What are secondary sex structure? These structures are used in the transportation and fertilization of gametes. Are you getting my point? What are secondary sex organs? Secondary sex organs are those organs which are used in the transportation of the gamete and their fertilization. Means what? First they are involving in the transportation of gamete, and finally they will provide a safe site for the process of fertilization or their fusion. You can understand well, after discharging the gamete or after producing the gamete from the primary sex organ, they are being discharged outside and they are being carried to the site of fertilization by the help of these organs only. Are you getting my point? So now, which are these structures? We'll discuss them later on in the very detailed form. So the structures which includes the secondary sex organs are genital duct along with the some glands associated with that organs. So what are these structures? We'll discuss in detail later, but only for a quick review. In case of male, the vasa efferentia, vasa deferens, seminal vesicle, epididymis, ejaculatory duct, urethra, and some other glands associated with that. So vasa efferentia, vas deferens, seminal vesicle, epididymis, ejaculatory duct, and urethra. So we'll discuss them in detail when we'll discuss the male reproductive organs. Similarly, in case of female, the oviduct, uterus, vagina, all are the structures which are helpful in transportation and fertilization of the gamete. So these all the structures are called as secondary sex organs. So now it is clear to you all, primary sex organ means what? These are basically the gonads, means what? The structures which are responsible for the formation of the gametes. Okay. So gametes are, in case of male, the primary sex organ is testis. In case of female, the primary sex organ is ovary. So the gonads, the testis produces the male gamete, that is spermatozoa, and ovary produces the female gamete, that is egg or ovum. Secondary sex organ, the structures which are helping in transportation and fertilization, basically genital ducts, that is being considered as the transporting agencies and fertilization sites, and finally some of the glands which are being associated with that. Now moving on to the next, after primary sex organ, secondary sex organ, now we are moving on to the next one. The organs are going to express some of the specific characters. Each organ is going to express some of the specific characters by which the organs can be easily identified whether the organ is male or organ is female. Are you getting my point? The organs is going to express some specific characters by which it is being easily identified whether organ belongs to the male sex or belongs to the female sex. So that characters are called as secondary sexual characters. Secondary sexual character because they are not associated with the testis and ovary. They are associated with the identification and appearance of the particular type of the characteristic. So secondary sexual characters means what? Some of the characters by which we can externally define whether the sex is male or it is female. So the characters by which we can distinguish the sexes based on the sexes externally based on the characters. They are going to play a key role in mating and the reproduction, because this is very much important requirement of the animals that they need to perform a kind of mating process and for the mating processes they need to search out their female partner and the male partner. Vice versa, we can say the male partner has to search the female partner and female partner has to search the male partner. So in such situation what will happen? They need to identify their opposite sexes. So these characters are going to help them out in identification of the particular sexes. And each and every animals are having some particular type of the behavior that is called as sexual behavior or sexual characteristic, secondary sexual characteristic. Like that you can understand well. In case of the female lion and male lion, you can understand the difference as well. This is what. So same kind of the characteristic are also present there in the humans also. Those characteristic are called as secondary sexual characteristic. Like that in case of human male, you can understand well, the human males are having the low pitch sound, heavy sound is there. Whenever the heavy sound is there, so you can hear and you can find out, अरे ये तो male की आवाज है, ये कोई आदमी बोल रहा होगा. This is what. Okay, the beard and mustaches are the identification of the male. The broad shoulder, muscular body, that all are the structures, that all are the characters by which we can define the sex of the human, whether it is male. Are you getting my point? Male is having the low pitch sound, beard, mustache, broad shoulder, muscular body, and many more characters are there by which you can easily identify whether the sex is male or female. So similarly, the characteristic which are considered as secondary sexual character by which we can identify is the females of the humans are high pitch voice, the smooth face, narrow shoulders, broad hips, and even though the adipose tissue is more there in the females only. Now we are moving on to the next. All the things what we are discussing that are the basic and very important. Now the development of the sex organs. This is very important questions and repeatedly it has been asked there in the many of the examinations. So remember, the development of these sex organ, whether it is testis or it is ovary, they develop during the embryonic period. from the mesodermal layer. If you have remember, the three germ layers are there: ectoderm, mesoderm and endoderm. They are just going to develop a particular type of the structures in their adult form. So during the embryogeny, the mesoderm is going to give rise the testis and ovary. So both the structure, whether it is testis or ovary, is going to develop from the mesoderm. These both structures, testis and ovary, are going to originate there in the abdominal cavity. Both testis and ovary are going to originate in the abdominal cavity, but the testis moves downward into the scrotal sac in the later phase of their embryonic period, means till the 7th month of the embryonic period, or in the 7th month of the embryonic period, testis descends down in the scrotal sac, but ovary remains in the abdominal cavity throughout the life. This is very crucial point. This is very important point. Testis, after completion of its embryonic development, descends down into the scrotal sac, and ovary remains always in the abdominal cavity throughout the life. What is the reason behind that? That we'll discuss later on, but just remember, the testis has to descend down in the scrotal sac, but ovary has to remain always into the abdominal cavity. Okay, now moving on to the next, we are moving on to the major topic. We are just going to start with the male reproductive system, then we'll take the female reproductive system. So in the male reproductive system, many of the structures are there, like a scrotum, then testis, then vasa efferentia, differentia, epididymis, seminal vesicle, penis, everything we have to take care, we have to discuss here. But now I'm just going to start one by one. The first structure that I'm just going to take, the outer one, the first structure that I'm just going to take, will move inward from outside, so that you could not have any kind of the confusion. One by one, each and every structure will make a kind of chain thereon. So you can easily understand which structure is the external, which one is the internal one. So the first structure that we are just going to discuss today, that is scrotum. So what is a scrotum? You can understand well. Scrotum is a kind of sac-like structure or a bag-like structure, which is completely a pigmented structure. So that is made of completely the muscle. So scrotum can be defined as the pouch of the pigmented skin, which is a bag-like structure. It is a pouch of pigmented skin, which is a bag-like structure. It is pigmented skin pouch, means what? Made of the skin, pigmented, having the pigment, that is melanin. So what is the importance of the scrotum to be present here, to be present there in the human? So scrotum is going to provide a safe place for the attachment of the testis thereon. So during the embryonic development, testis was originated there in the abdominal cavity, just now we have discussed. But in the 7th month of the embryonic development, in the 7th month of embryonic development, the testis just comes downward into the scrotal sac and remains throughout the life there in the scrotal sac only. So that is what this is going to provide, the specific attachment to the, or specific arrangement or accommodation to the testis therein. Because we'll see one by one what is the importance of that structure there in the life of testis. So we are just moving to the next structure of the scrotum. In scrotum, we'll observe one structure that is called as the dartos muscle. The scrotum is lined with the dartos muscle. The dartos muscle is very important structure, very important component of the scrotal sac. Usually the temperature of the scrotal sac is less than 2 to 3 degrees centigrade from the normal body temperature. The temperature of a scrotal sac is normally 2.3 to 3 degrees centigrade less than the normal body temperature. So that body temperature is being maintained by these muscles. Are you getting my point? What is the importance of dartos muscle? Normal temperature of scrotal sac is less than 2 to 3 degrees centigrade from the normal body temperature. So that temperature is being maintained by these dartos muscles. So what is the importance of dartos muscle? The dartos muscles are the structures which are going to maintain the constant temperature of the scrotal sac, which is less than 2 to 3 degrees centigrade from the normal body temperature. ठीक है, बॉडी टेम्परेचर जो स्क्रोटल सैक का टेम्परेचर होता है वो बॉडी टेम्परेचर से 2.5 से 3 डिग्री कम होता है. इसको मेंटेन करने का काम किसका होता है? डार्टोज मसल का होता है. ये कैसे मेंटेन करती है टेम्परेचर को? इट मेंटेन्स द टेम्परेचर बाय इट्स ओन कॉन्ट्रैक्शन एंड रिलैक्सेशन, बिकॉज मसल्स की प्रॉपर्टी क्या होती है? इधर कॉन्ट्रैक्शन और द रिलैक्सेशन. So property of muscle is contraction and relaxation. So it has to contract or relax to maintain the temperature. Whenever the environmental temperature is less, that time the dartos muscle will contract and the temperature will get increased. Are you getting my point? जब बाहर का temperature कम होगा means during the winter season or during the cold environment, the dartos muscle will get contract and it will increase the temperature of the scrotal sac so that it couldn't come at the level of the normal temperature. And similarly, just opposite to that, when the environmental temperature is higher than the body temperature, so that time the dartos muscle will get relaxed so that it could decrease the temperature of the scrotal sac. So is it clear? Dartos muscle का काम क्या होगा? This muscle is responsible for regulation of the temperature of scrotal sac. कैसे रेगुलेट करेगी? बाय कॉन्ट्रैक्शन एंड रिलैक्सेशन. ड्यूरिंग द कोल्ड वेदर, ड्यूरिंग द विंटर सीजन, इट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स और टेम्परेचर को बढ़ाएगी. व्हेन इट इज हॉट एटमॉस्फेयर, हॉट इन्वायरमेंट, मोर टेम्परेचर आउटसाइड इज देयर, then dartos muscle will relax or temperature will get reduced. So now question arises ki why this arrangement is there? Why this arrangement is there? The scrotal sac is having less temperature than the body. Are you getting my point? The question, very important question there, कि why this is so? The scrotal sac should have low temperature than the body. So very important question. Remember, इसका आंसर आप सबको आना चाहिए. The low temperature of the scrotal sac is responsible or helping in maturation of the spermatozoa. Are you getting my point? Remember, the spermatozoa can be produced at the normal body temperature, but to mature them, that is requirement of the low temperature from the body temperature, that is 2 to 3 degrees centigrade lower than the normal body temperature. So that is what. So are you getting my point? स्पर्मेटोजोआ का स्पर्म का डेवलपमेंट नॉर्मल बॉडी टेम्परेचर पे हो सकता है, बट टू मैच्योर दैम स्पर्मेटोजोआ को कम टेम्परेचर की ज़रूरत होती है. उसको मैच्योर और फंक्शनल स्पर्म बनने के लिए कम टेम्परेचर की ज़रूरत होती है. दैट टेम्परेचर शुड बी लेस देन 2 to 3 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड फ्रॉम द नॉर्मल बॉडी टेम्परेचर. सो दिस इज व्हाट the testis, this is the purpose why testis just move downward into the scrotal sac after their embryonic development. समझ में आ रहा है? टेस्टिस बना तो सकता है लेकिन मैचुरेशन के लिए उसको कम बॉडी टेम्परेचर चाहिए, कम टेम्परेचर चाहिए, तो इसलिए वो क्या करता है? स्क्रोटल में उतर आता है. सो दिस इज द रीजन व्हाई द टेस्टिस डिसेंड्स इन द एब्डोमिनल कैविटी इन द 7th month of the embryonic development. Are you getting my point? This is the reason the testis descends downside in the abdominal cavity in the 7th month of the embryonic development. Is it clear? Testis descend down in the 7th month of embryonic development into the scrotal sac. This is what. तो इतना क्लियर हो गया. डार्टोज मसल बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है, टेम्परेचर को रेगुलेट करेगी. स्क्रोटम का टेम्परेचर क्या होता है? 2.5 से 3 डिग्री कम होता है नॉर्मल बॉडी टेम्परेचर से. इस टेम्परेचर की ज़रूरत क्यों होती है? इसी टेम्परेचर पे द स्पर्म्स आर गेटिंग मैच्योर्ड प्रॉपरली एंड टू और एक कॉन्सेप्ट था कि वाई द टेस्टिस इज कमिंग डाउन साइड इन द स्क्रोटल सैक, वाई द टेस्टिस इज डिसेंडिंग डाउन इन द स्क्रोटल सैक. तो उसके पीछे भी रीजन ये है कि स्पर्म का फॉर्मेशन तो नॉर्मल बॉडी टेम्परेचर पे हो सकता है लेकिन मैच्योरेशन के लिए उसको कम टेम्परेचर की ज़रूरत होती है. सो फॉर द पर्पज ऑफ मेंटेनिंग द लेस टेम्परेचर व्हाट हैपेंस? द टेस्टिस इज डिसेंडिंग डाउन इनटू द एब्डोमिनल कैविटी. लेकिन कभी कभार कुछ ऐसी सिचुएशन बनती है व्हेन टेस्टिस फेल्स टू डिसेंड डाउन इनटू द scrotal sac. Are you getting my point? Sometime what happen in some of the situation, testis fails to descend down into the scrotal sac. उस कंडीशन को हम क्या कहते हैं? क्रिप्टोर्किडिज्म. Are you getting my point? Cryptorchidism is the situation. Very important question is there. Many of the time in many of the examination the question is there. If you are just going through the various papers, you will ask, you will find the questions. Cryptorchidism. Cryptorchidism means what? The failure of testis to descend down into the scrotal sac. That is called as cryptorchidism. Are you getting my point? So question फिर से आता है कि अगर ऐसा कोई टेस्टिस रहता है जो स्क्रोटल सैक में नहीं रहता है, एब्डोमिनल कैविटी में ही रहा आता है, तो उस टेस्टिस का क्या होगा? तो टेस्टिस विल बी एबल टू डेवलप बट इट विल नॉट गेट मैच्योर. वो मैच्योर नहीं होगा, फंक्शनली और स्ट्रक्चरली पुअर रहेगा. दैट कैन नॉट बी एबल टू जनरेट द स्पर्मेटोजोआ. सो ये क्लियर हो गया. Cryptorchidism is the situation where testis cannot descend down into the स्क्रोटल सैक, और अगर ऐसा होता है तो टेस्टिस कैन नॉट मैच्योर इटसेल्फ फंक्शनली एंड स्ट्रक्चरली बोथ. So, after completing the dartos muscle, the next important structure present in the testis is called as septum scroti. Septum scroti, septum means the partition, scroti means scrotal sac. So, scrotal sac is having a muscular partition present inside. The scrotal sac is having a muscular partition present inside. And due to that partition, the scrotum is now divided into the two part or two sacs. Are you getting my point? The septum scroti is a kind of muscular arrangement or muscular partition by which the scrotum is now divided into the two parts or two sacs, and each of the sac is going to provide the attachment to the particular testis. Means the testis is one pair, that is why the two different testis are going to arrange into the two different sacs of the scrotum. Is it clear? The raphe is the external appearance of that septum scroti. The raphe is going to the septum scroti is appeared externally in form of the raphe. Now moving on to the next structure, that is called as the inguinal canal. Inguinal canal is a tube-like structure which is going to join the scrotal sac to the pelvis or the abdominal cavity. This is a kind of connection by which the scrotum is associated with the abdominal cavity or the pelvis cavity. Are you getting my point? So what is inguinal canal? Inguinal canal is a kind of connection by which the scrotal sac is associated with the pelvis cavity or the abdominal cavity. An important term is there, the inguinal hernia. This is a kind of irregularity, or we can say this is a kind of disease. Also we can consider it as abnormality, we can consider it as. Sometime what happen, the intestine may get bulges into the scrotum. Are you getting my point? Sometimes the intestine may bulges out in the स्क्रोटम. दिस सिचुएशन इज कॉल्ड एज इंग्विनल हर्निया. नॉर्मली इसको हर्निया कहते हैं और हर्निया को सर्जिकल रिमूवल किया जाता है. कभी कभार इंटेस्टाइन बल्ज आउट होकर स्क्रोटम में आ जाती है, ड्यू टू दैट सिचुएशन इज कॉल्ड एज इंग्विनल हर्निया. नाउ मूविंग ऑन टू द नेक्स्ट स्ट्रक्चर ऑफ द स्क्रोटम, दैट इज कॉल्ड एज स्पर्मेटिक कार्ड. Spermatic cord means the thread like structure or a tissue. So the tissue by which the testis is attached to the abdominal wall and scrotum. Testis is a kind of hanging structure, so that hanging structure is one sided attached to the abdominal wall, and on another side it has to attach to the scrotum. So spermatic cord is the structure by which the testis is attached to the abdominal wall on one side, and another side it has to attach to the scrotum. Are you getting my point? And remember, this spermatic cord or this structure is passes in between the inguinal canal. ये उसके साथ साथ ही चलता है. तो spermatic cord क्लियर हो गया. टेस्टिस एक हैंगिंग स्ट्रक्चर है, सो दैट टेस्टिस हैज टू बाइंड और ज्वाइन टू द abdominal cavity on one side, and another side it has to join to the scrotal. So the spermatic cord is that connective by which it is going to join to the abdominal cavity as well as to the scrotum. One important term, the gubernaculum or mesorchium. Mesorchium or gubernaculum is once again the group of elastic fibers by which the testis joins to the scrotal sac. Are you getting my point? Gubernaculum or mesorchium are the group of elastic fibers by which testis is going to join or attach to the wall of scrotum. ये समझ में आ गया. गुबर्नाकुलम वो टिश्यूज होगा जिसके कारण, एक इलास्टिक टिश्यू होगा जिसके कारण टेस्टिस स्क्रोटल सैक के साथ में जुड़ा होगा. नाउ नेक्स्ट वन, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन, द क्रीमेस्टर मसल्स. क्रीमेस्टर मसल्स आर द वॉलेंट्री मसल्स. वॉलेंट्री मसल्स का मतलब इच्छा से ऊपर नीचे होने वाली, इच्छा से मूव करने वाली. सो दिस इज द वॉलेंट्री मसल which lines complete wall of the scrotum and the inguinal region of the scrotum, जहाँ पे inguinal canal आएगी. Are you getting my point? क्रीमेस्टर मसल क्या एक तरीके की वॉलेंट्री मसल है which lines the wall of scrotum, पूरी तरीके से स्क्रोटल वॉल को लाइन करती है. मतलब जहाँ डार्टोज मसल उसी के पास में क्रीमेस्टर मसल होगी जो टेस्टिस के साइड साइड चलेगी, and it will cover or lines the inguinal region of scrotum also. So what is the function of cremaster muscle? The function is very important. What is the function? Function is what? It elevates and depresses the testis during the maintenance of the temperature. Are you getting my point? हमने देखा है the function of testis or function of the scrotal is to maintain the temperature of the maintain the constant temperature inside that should be less than 2 to 3 degrees centigrade of the body temperature, and this temperature is required for the maturation of sperm. So what the cremaster muscle does, ये क्या करते हैं, टेस्टिस को ऊपर नीचे खींचने का काम करते हैं. जब टेम्परेचर ज़्यादा करना हो, कम करना हो, जब ज़्यादा करना होगा तो ये टेस्टिस को ऊपर भेज देंगे, बिकॉज बॉडी टेम्परेचर इज़ द हायर व्हेन टेम्परेचर इज़ रिक्वायर्ड इन द लेस टेम्परेचर इज रिक्वायर्ड, तो उस समय मैचुरेशन के टाइम पे टेस्टिस को नीचे भेज देंगे. तो क्रीमेस्टर मसल का काम क्या होता है, टू एलिवेट द टेस्टिस अपसाइड, एलिवेट का मतलब ऊपर उठाना, and to depress the testis into the scrotal sac. To depress in the testis in scrotal sac, तो उस समय क्या होता है, maturation of the sperm when low temperature is required, जब ज़्यादा टेम्परेचर की जरूरत होगी तो that will be moved upward. So elevation and depression of the testis into the scrotal sac for what, to regulate the temperature. Are you getting my point? It elevates and depresses the testis in the scrotal sac to regulate the temperature. सो अभी तक सारी चीज़ें क्लियर हो गई. स्क्रोटल सैक की स्ट्रक्चर में पहली स्ट्रक्चर हमने देखा हुआ था डार्टोज मसल, एक्सटर्नल मसल्स हैं जो कॉन्ट्रैक्शन और रिलैक्सेशन से स्क्रोटल सैक का टेम्परेचर मेंटेन करेंगे. सेकेंड वन वी हैव सीन द सेप्टम स्क्रोटाई, द पार्टीशन बाय विच द स्क्रोटल सैक डिवाइडेड इनटू द टू सैक्स. Raphe is external appearance. Inguinal canal is a connection between the scrotal sac and to the abdominal cavity. Spermatic cord, elastic cord, a fibrous cord by which the testis attach one side to the abdominal cavity and another side to the scrotum. Gubernaculum, elastic fiber tissue जिसके through testis is going to attach to the scrotal sac. Cremaster muscle, very important muscle that lines the complete wall of scrotum along with the inguinal region into the scrotal region. और इसका important function क्या था, तो function is that it elevates and depresses the testis for maintenance of the temperature or regulation of the temperature. ठीक है, इतना clear हुआ आपको. Now we are moving on to the next. Here I'm just going to show a rough diagram. I'm not going to show that clear diagram. Rough diagram means to understand ki what are the arrangement of the layers. How can we understand the arrangement of layer? Suppose this is the testis and we are observing the single sac of the scrotal. So that will be considered as what? Scrotal sac, because another sac will be present here, another testis will be there. So scrotal sac is there, the testis is there. Now testis is attached to the wall of scrotal sac by some specific tissues. That tissues are called as gubernaculum or mesorchium. Are you getting my point? Gubernaculum or mesorchium. Any issue? Gubernaculum or mesorchium. Remember, now Raphe, you can understand well. The septum scroti was there. The septum scroti was able to divide the scrotum into two equal halves. So यहाँ क्या हुआ? That external appearance of that septum scroti is called as Raphe. Now next one, ये लंबी ट्यूब, you can easily understand that long tube is going to join the testis to the abdominal cavity, that is called as inguinal canal. हमने देखा था spermatic cord इसके बीचों बीच चलती है, that is going to join the testis one side to the abdominal cavity and other side to the scrotal sac. तो इसको इस तरीके से समझें जैसे ये वाले केस में बाहर की तरफ इंग्विनल कैनाल जा रही है और बीचों बीच स्पर्मेटिक कार्ड चल रही है. हमने लिखा है द स्पर्मेटिक कार्ड रन्स थ्रू द इंग्विनल कैनाल. एंड अनदर वन इज द क्रीमेस्टर मसल. द क्रीमेस्टर मसल लाइंस द कंप्लीट वॉल ऑफ स्क्रोटम along with the inguinal region in the scrotal sac. ये inguinal region हो गया जहाँ तक scrotal sac है, उसके बाद inguinal canal ऊपर निकल जाएगी. सो ये पूरा का पूरा रीजन क्या होता है, क्रीमेस्टर मसल्स का होगा इससे. अब क्या होता है, ड्यू टू द कॉन्ट्रैक्शन ऑफ द क्रीमेस्टर मसल, यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड द कॉन्ट्रैक्शन ऑफ द क्रीमेस्टर मसल इज देयर. सो ड्यू टू द कॉन्ट्रैक्शन ऑफ क्रीमेस्टर मसल ये ऊपर की तरफ उठ जाएगा. जब ये ऊपर की तरफ उठ जाएगा तो व्हाट विल हैपन, द टेस्टिस विल मूव अपवर्ड. सो मूव अपवर्ड मीन्स व्हाट, व्हेन द हाई टेम्परेचर इज रिक्वायर्ड. जब ये रिलैक्स होगा तो रिलैक्स होने की सिचुएशन में क्या होगा, टेस्टिस नीचे की तरफ आएगा व्हेन लो टेम्परेचर इज रिक्वायर्ड. सो आई थिंक नाउ इट इज क्लियर टू यू ऑल. ये क्लियर हो गया अपने को कि टेस्टिस का मूवमेंट कैसे हो रहा है. दिस इज ओनली द नॉर्मल अरेंजमेंट, नॉर्मल रफ स्ट्रक्चर. आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू डिस्क्राइब द कंप्लीट स्ट्रक्चर, बट वॉट एवर द स्ट्रक्चर आई हैव डिस्कस्ड टुडे in the structure of testis. Now I think this all structures are clear to you all. The inguinal canal we have discussed, the spermatic cord we have discussed, the cremaster muscle we have discussed. क्रीमेस्टर मसल टेस्टिस को ऊपर नीचे लाने के लिए, स्क्रोटल सैक हमने देखा टेस्टिस को अटैचमेंट प्रोवाइड करने के लिए, टेस्टिस इज देयर, गुबर्नाकुलम इज इलास्टिक टिश्यू विच इज गोइंग टू अटैच द टेस्टिस टू द scrotal sac wall, raphy external expression of the septum scroti thereon. So ये एक नॉर्मल अरेंजमेंट है इन मसल्स का, इन स्ट्रक्चर्स का, दैट आर बीइंग एसोसिएटेड विद द स्क्रोटल सैक. सो ये क्लियर हो गया आप लोगों को. नाउ specific note is there that scrotum is homologous to the labia majora of the females. So this is very important question. Remember, if note is given means what, always the question is very important. So scrotum is the homologous structure to the labia majora of the females. So in female, labia majora is homologous to the scrotum, or scrotum is homologous to the labia majora. So that point you must remember. Now after completing the scrotum, now we'll move on to the testis into the next lecture. Till the time, thank you.